quantum computing sounds like the future is happening today, but the truth is it's still years away from real commercial revenue. And IONQ is one of the most recognized names in the space, but when you dig deeper and you look at the companies, it's mostly research, partnerships, there are some contracts, projections, but not really a lot of cash flow. And while quantum computing is going to be infrastructure, most likely scaling AI in the future and growing AI in the future, there is still a gap between the futuristic headlines and the present day fundamentals, which is why today in our live session, we were actually trading IONQ and we jumped into a position in Big Bear, which hasn't moved much. It's down about $32. And then we also jumped in to this position. It's an options put on IONQ. You can see we're already up there about $325 so far today. Not following the crowd. We don't really hype things up or anything like that. You know, we're looking at the fundamentals here. And in StockMate, we trade there every day live and share our setups in AI, quantum, data centers, long-term, short-term plays. If you ever want to join on into the private community and surround yourself with over 24 individuals with a net worth of over $1 million, you can see our entries, see our exits. And we recently closed the lifetime access, and some people still didn't want a subscription. So we reopened the lifetime access. It's available now, and you get a free t-shirt when you join. So you can join our session as soon as tomorrow, and you don't have to miss it. You can grab it in the second link in the description below. So the quantum market has seen momentum upwards. As you can tell with IONQ, for example, we've seen them surge as high as $76 a share up into all-time highs, along with Regetti stock, QBTS as well, to all-time highs. Now, we just entered some shorts recently. It's part of why we're actually got some Regetti puts. Although we have long-term positions that are up over 150% there on Regetti, we also have short-term puts that you can see here on the IONQ here and Regetti as we're looking for this pullback here to continue down. When we're watching the quantum market, the main thing to note is this technology is really game-changing. We just haven't seen it generate a lot of revenue yet. So while they're working on better battery materials, and trust me, I've been to multiple conferences this past year, from QBTS, even meeting the CEO, to IONQ and meeting people 3 weeks ago in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We went to CES as well. You know, there's all these conferences we went to get a pulse on the market. So if you're talking to somebody that's a stock investor, not always are there stock investors at the conferences. We're at the conferences, and I can tell you that we have a pretty good pulse on where they are in the value delivery to the marketplace. And while they have great partnerships with Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, Department of Defense or DARPA, Lockheed Martin, Accenture, Toyota, Dell. I mean, these are not small partnerships. GE, these are big partnerships. But when you look at most quantum companies, while they have good partnerships, we're looking at the financials, and you see this huge run that we've seen up into all-time highs for most of the companies. You could just see this big surge to where they're at right now. The market is at right now about $20 billion for IONQ, their market cap. $20 billion market cap. You see that 0.78? See that 0.78? That's 780 million, right? That 0.78. So that 0.78 billion, they didn't even make that much this year. In fact, they only made annually about 43 million. So that's 0.78 that you see there. That is one fraction of that 20. You could just do the 0.08, and they didn't make that much this year. They made half of that at $43 million in 2024. And then in 2025, they're on track to do about over 50 million. So there is an increase in revenue, and you do see that starting to materialize. And there's no doubt that quantum computing is a great market for the long term. And I really do like the idea of the massive computation, the atoms essentially that they are working with that are massively more sensitive and able to potentially have way more computing power than GPUs, for example. And we'd love to see the new stimulus from the US government, like $2.7 billion going here into the market. But you still got to jump back to the financials and say, okay, well, the net income has been going down a little bit. They have been spending more. Their market cap is still at 20 billion. And while they're working with big tech, the balance sheet, they have enough runway right now at 1.3 billion. If you were to pull out a book, I have a few books around me, but there's a book on Benjamin Graham and what he looks for in investments. And one of the indicators is that the total assets and that the revenue generated in the entire year should be greater than the market cap when you purchase stock. Now, if we add all those things up, we're going to get around 50 million plus, 1.35 billion. That's like 1.4 billion in their valuation there. And their market cap is not at 1.4 billion. Their market cap's at 19.78 billion. So while it's a great market and we have long-term positions, as I mentioned, that we hold and we add on the dips, and we have Charles Schwab positions in our long-term Roth IRA we just don't even touch, for sure. However, on the near term, while this technology could be revolutionary for many different industries and we see research expand rapidly, we still have not seen that revenue reflect in the financials. So they've made some runs, and they made some runs up to $54 in this range. And last time they did, they corrected massively down to about $25 when Jensen from Nvidia said quantum computing is 15 or 30 years away. And then after that, they corrected even further. Some other companies found their bottom on that move, like Regetti. But they corrected even further down to about $18 a share, $17.88. And then from March all the way through the summer and into September, made a run up to $76 a share. It's a tremendous run. We're very happy as long-term investors, and most of our investors here on the channel, that we have a lot of, I would say 99% of our content on IONQ you would find is bullish, and that we're really looking forward to the future. However, we do find a great opportunity in the short term, kind of similar to how we were playing market corrections when the tariffs hit earlier this year, that we're able to, essentially short the quantum market a little bit, see it pull back. We didn't want to touch it when it was rallying, because it had this very consistent uptrend through September. You could see just higher highs. But then we saw them correct back down from $76 and start to have a trend in the opposite direction. Now that moving average is not acting as a support there, as we saw with that green line. It oftentimes acts as a support when it's bullish, but then we see them cross below. Now that green line's acting as a resistance. Now they're moving below the moving average, and they're starting to have a consistent downtrend. We saw them push up today. They jumped up here to about $65 a share, which was way above where they were at pre-market into today, yesterday. And so a lot of times we're going to see that spike result in most likely seeing some of those same levels we saw pre-market, along with that very consistent downtrend that we saw with IONQ. And so we ended up shorting them today. And so that's kind of what led us to this position that we're in right now. So again, shorter term position, you can see right now we're up about $325. I think it was just 5 contracts, so pretty low investment. I think maybe it was $1,000, $1,500. We don't want to hedge too hard, but we're a long-term player in this game, and we're like, hey, if we're holding long-term and we see a pretty clear indication it's going to sell back down, then it would make sense to at least collect some of the capital on the way down, and kind of even out our positions a little bit there. So that's kind of why we got into it this morning, and we were trading live at market open as we do every day. And we'll be watching more quantum plays like this, along with some investments in data centers and defense, as well as space tech. Today we are trading a defense company, Big Bear AI. And so far that position hasn't moved much, but we do it every morning. If you want to see our entries, see our exits, it's the second link in the description below for StockMate. And right now you get a free t-shirt when you join, and there's a special sale ending soon, again in the second link down below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.